Still here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Jupiter hour, Mars day. Jupiter is 24 degrees retrograde in Cancer, ascendant in midheaven, 7 degrees Libra ascendant, 7 degrees midheaven, Cancer, and the moon is 7 degrees Aquarius. 777. 7 is the degree that is associated with Venus at 23 degrees Scorpio. And moon is ruled by Saturn in Pisces. But 7 is also associated with Al-Qaeda and the cycle of Saturn. Okay, that takes 24 years, so 7777. 3 times 7 in this chart, again pointing to Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn. And I'm getting the energy of the Nineveh repent type of eclipses. I also saw a video where the city of Nineveh appeared. It was actually a gastronomical video of historical food. The minute Pluto entered Aquarius, I saw historical food channels. Now, there is an issue about the people regarding beliefs, maybe even regarding children, traditional orthodoxy, and women. Particularly something to do with Mercury, can be contracts, words. He is still 22ing. Black Moon Lilith, we know, sexual sovereignty. And I'm thinking about several things. I'm thinking about Mariam in Egypt and the story of Moses, but also the major curse that turned Egyptians to let the people go, so to speak, and basically abolish slavery. That's what Moses did, and that's why he got the country. Okay, if we strip out the Bible, strip out the religion, strip out the word Israelis, structurally, what was the prophecy? Okay, those who put people to slavery, no matter no matter what they build with slavery, they will be cursed after curse after curse after curse after curse. And the last curse was of the first son, which is basically the legacy of the lineage. They were cursed by the continuation of their people. Now, okay, because and that and the liberation from slavery not only parted the Nile, and 2027 we have a 6 minutes eclipse that will be very visible in North Africa to Egypt. Okay, this is why United States has its new Egypt, and every people have their own traditions revived, because the eclipse is going to take very important things away, and it's going to be a withdrawal in Aquarius, I believe. So it's going to make us rethink even the aliens that may or may not have been, or maybe the pyramids were built to aliens. We have the Atlas with the alien god, so there's a lot of attempts to do mimicry of something. Yet we know, if we strip out the religion and we strip out origin, we had the people that enslaved other people to build temples to alien gods or to the gods. Okay, the pyramids. And those people that built that, they were liberated from slavery and they got a country of their own. Um, Now, people are not used to read that story with stripping out the word Jews. But I suggest that towards this eclipse they would. Because Ra will be in Aquarius and Saturn will structure that is decentralized, okay, kind of like a cooperative structure. There's no place to slavery in cooperative structure. Another structure that's cooperative but does have slavery is Masons and Dutch East India. To this day, Rabobank. So I don't know how will that come to be. Um, and another theme that comes into this is the destruction of cities, peoples, and religions. And we look to what's in Scorpio and in Aries to see why. Why is a wound around sovereignty, Chiron. Aries around inclusivity, particularly in the resources that people share when they have a party. So connections, food, and so on. But in Aries is also real estate and the natural resources. Mercury 22 can be even journalism, kind of true crime. Okay, 22, this is a deacon of cold cases. It could be journalism to do with, or cold cases of certain lethal contract. And Mercury's technology or lethal technology. Venus and Black Moon Lilith. So this is the something of an old issue, but to do with relation. It can be to the female sexual organs, destruction of cities to those who mistreated the female sexual organs. Now it can be Africa, 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 Africa. I don't know the. We are already within the 2027 period with this one. Okay, those who mistreat the female genitals. That can range from, together with Aries, those who do genitalia mutilation, and it here also the penis is important. So it's both the Jews, anybody that does anything to the male, to the male sex, and the vagina. Those will have destruction of cities, of their people, of their lineage, like Egypt, until they let the people go. And they could have famine. Mercury is ruling over Sedna. And it could be sexual sovereignty. So even people are not, let's say, Jews or Muslim or particularly indigenous that do, okay? Even LGBTQ community. If the gender affirming care is not given with full sovereignty of patient, okay, we know that the child cannot have sovereignty. This is why you cannot have sex with child, because child is, they have their sovereignty as child, but they don't have the ability to have sex sovereignly. Okay, then they need to be adult. So there's something here. Okay, and this is and any community, not even religious, that is violating of sexual sovereignty, but also because it's Scorpio, in the occult, in the astral. Is to liberate. Mars, its objective is to liberate from the religions and the people, which means that the people that believe in anything that restricts sexual sovereignty will die by the masses. Masses. I think it is relating to what Master Bin Saduno talked about, that there would be even more deaths than the two world wars. And you can look at Crasia Tassio's video regarding the prophecy of Master Bin Saduno. There will be even more deaths, and that's regarding to sexual sovereignty. Okay, the first world wars. Um, okay, yes, the Jews in a very roundabout way got a certain country. Women got right to vote all over the world, and that was more the point of view. It was more the women forbidding child labor. Uranus, Pluto, Libra, they also treated to sexual sovereignty within marriage, the ability to divorce, and now all is left is sexual sovereignty in spirit and in matter, and also in the astral. We see that this topic coming around, and I even saw, I think I saw it in my dream, that they are tending to the topic of where they violated sexual sovereignty in the spiritual warfare, because they know this won't go. Okay, the nations, the classified projects, and somebody told me that in my dream. I don't know who. It was very clear for someone to deliver the message to me that they are beginning to shield from the astral rape because they know that it wouldn't pass in silence. This is a crime against humanity. Okay, it's kind of like Eichmann. Those that give the orders, those that execute the orders to astrally rape, to curse somebody, or to bring them into situation where they are raped. Okay? I'm reading a beautiful book, and this is by Yo Nesbo. It was left for me on the train, and this is because I begged the question: what Israel wanted from Norway? Why Israel started picking a fight with Norway? And I see the relations of Norway after the Second World War. They joined the Nazis to conquer Stalingrad, Leningrad. I don't. It's the city that changes names. Um, said the girl that lives in Israel. And then they were after the Bolsheviks. Okay, and then some Jews ran into the Bolsheviks because of the Nazis. So, but then they hunted the Nazis or hunted the Bolsheviks. Like, I really don't know, but I'm beginning to pick up a fascinating book, historical book. So But what I see very clearly is that those that bring people to, also by the way in Israel, there is a discussion about the way Jews human trafficked Jews, and that they worked with the Nazis, the human traffickers, and the ladies that were trafficked to the Nazis, they were humiliated and so on by the Jews. So how these people basically brought the Holocaust. And even the Orthodoxy is trying to appeal to women's rights and to the rights of the mentally ill people. Okay, not to look at hearing voices or whatnot as psychosis. Because they see that time is okay to repent. And all the people, the families, the lineages of the religions and can be even the real estate of those who harmed the sexual sovereignty and or the genitals of people, or the real estate of sexual sovereign people, or the real estate of those who believe in sexual sovereignty. That they will not sustain the war. But this is where the teachings of Master Ben Saduna arrive, because if sexual sovereignty is honored, nobody has to die. It doesn't have to even be a war. It's that natural resources don't have to be consolidated by ritual abuse. In fact, all those who invested in the natural resources and money laundered with human trafficking, or invested in the way of wealth consolidation that come with human trafficking, child trafficking, astral rape and stuff like that, those will also lose their investment. And only place will be, and I saw even beings try to converse, try to ask, but what type of jail for those criminals? Would they be killed? Would they be, what will happen with those criminals? And the issue is that there has to be a situation there's no rape. That's what the third big war that could destroy humanity, by and large, is about. Rape of boys, rape of girls, whatever origins. And I saw the things leading to the war were all really attempts to think about each and every context and how rape was forbidden in each and every context. And what do I mean forbidden? There nothing holds sovereignty that violates sovereignty. Rape is done to violate identity, to create mind-controlled slaves. Anybody, and it was done by design. The people that rape, they grew up in settings that they eradicated everything that's not violating. And now the opposite is done. Okay? That's the meaning of the war. The opposite is done, which means everything that rapes dies, with everything that it thought to get by rape. It doesn't, and I told you, Neptune in Aries is going to be the veil of ignorance. Um, Pluto in Aquarius, something global. Neptune world agree with Saturn, something global. And not only that, the death has to be humane. The thing is that the people that don't have the means, they would still need to kill the rapists. Okay, so this is where we're going to see, okay, that's by fire or stuff like that. But that only for the people that were directly harmed. Because when they gather, then the people have ability to do humane death. And the people are not going to do humane death, basically are not going to sustain. This is another thing where this big war. Okay, the death cults are going to be eradicated from the world. It reminds me of time where Al Olivares was writing about the Jesuits. The Jesuits, where they would turn to a man, and the life there was so terrible that they believed that their salvation comes after death, and they wanted to die so much that they would turn to a man, says, kill me or I murder you. If that reminds somebody of certain organizations in the Middle East, and then, only then, the church forbade suicide. But instead of forbidding suicide, why did these people want to die? Okay, belief is not sustained if a person lives in a world where they're happy to live in. And who created that religion and put them to so much abuse by design, so that they will go out and kill themselves? Now, I don't have a timetable for what I saw. And also the people that do rituals to try to harm person's sanity, relations, housing. They will lose all that they want to gain from doing that. And mind you, if they're trying to deal with souls, they will lose theirs, which means they'll die. Also, those who send people to curse people or to contact people so that they can have the energy, or to curse the energy, if it is to curse, then, like I said with the previous people. But if it is to purify the energy, then they would need to purify also what's in their people, because the blessing will come as, and here is what people need to see. Let's say you have a person coming from Northern Africa, and they meet person and they purify energy. Okay, they do good energy work. They come back to their family, then lineage. The blessing, the gift, is to purify the family and the lineage and the people from all the things that could get them to be invaded and genocided. It might not look like a blessing. Why? Because the objective is that lineage will not do things that will cause their not subjugation, but their death, because we're no longer in slavery timelines. So they might feel like, oh my God, one of ours has purified the energy of this person. Why do we have death in the family and not know that the death in the family is of someone who was, I'm sorry, maybe molesting a child? Now, the one that purified the energy knows. But they will have to speak and say Ninveh repent to their own city. The religions and cultures that practice usury cannot be defeated without by putting that over human rights. Why? Usury and debt only comes after violation of human rights. Without sexual sovereignty, there's no human rights, because there's no sovereign, there's no identity, there's not an I am there. Two as I speak. And this is what the big war is about. Let there be no mistake. And let there be no mistake of how people will even hunt one another. Okay? Like the story in Norway. Not the Nazis, not the Bolsheviks, and not those that act with the do as thy wilt will have peace in their life if they, okay, if they go about these practices. Why? Because they violate sexual sovereignty. Even the partisans, okay, the partisans in Bulgaria raped women. Even what people call impurity, okay, where let's say woman marries not virgin, or what they call promiscuity. When it's about discernment, if person was violated or lives in violating society, they can be avoidance from sexuality or hypersexuality. None of those counts as sexual sovereignty. And the entire society that deems the person impure because they were violated, okay, I think it is clear the message. Remember, 20 million Russians were killed in the 2 world wars. Yes, there's no reason for a country like, let's say, Finland, maybe Norway, but Finland, to go with the Nazis and not the Bolsheviks. Okay, Finns are closer in their economy, in their communities, to the Bolsheviks than to the Nazis. Then why did they not go with the Bolsheviks? We have to ask ourselves that, and the question very likely would be that the women would be raped and the children would be raped. Or fear that they would be enslaved, or something along these lines. Now, what happened with the Nazis? The Nazis were also enslaving. So Finland had bad deal working with either. Okay, but the Nazis went against usury, and the Bolsheviks, they wanted everything to be owned by the state. Which means that people would be enslaved to the state. Nazis, Hitler lost the war because he violated women's rights and LGBTQ rights and the rights of the disabled. Okay, he worked against usury, but it's no good for you working against usury if the benefactors, those that need the loans, are not accommodated. Okay, for example, let's say tomorrow there is a tax. People stop paying taxes in the United States. They will not win unless they feed the people that got their food stamps weg. Okay, got the people that were dependent on food stamps and income-based housing. Else they're like the Nazis. They will have a big bubble of purification of all that agree to rape, and then okay, no. The Second World War broke because of debt. The fine after the First World War was so big on Germany that they had to go to another war. Very simply put. But if the Nazis, for example, would be supporting women's rights, LGBTQ rights, the rights of the disabled, and would do something like the French, okay, for no religious symbols outside, and none of the religions can top. They actually did it after the war. None of the religions or origin countries can top the human rights. Okay, so let's say you come from, I don't know, Africa, you don't have the communication skills, and if the wife would make problems, you would hit her. Okay. Then you go to Germany, you're in jail in Germany. Why in jail? Because cannot be the wife. In jail, maybe you will learn communication skills and so on and so forth. And if the wife will still want the husband back, then. But if Hitler would do that, he would win the war. Not only he would win the war, he would solve the Jewish problem, because everything that he had problems in with the Jews, whether it's child trafficking, women trafficking, boys trafficking. Very likely these Jews, they trafficked LGBTQ boys. And they worked with the Nazis. The name of the organization back then, it matters less because it's happening today. But I can tell you, name of the organization, and this is, and they traded Jewish women. Tzvi Migdal. They traded 80,000 girls and women from places in Poland, Galicia, and Russia. And one country where lover boy is very prevalent is Netherlands. Okay, I don't make the rules. If it was not that bad, people would not go and apply for assisted death after they go sexual boundary violation, even in the astral. But how many people have to commit suicide? And what does it leave the world with? It leaves the world with in a world that nobody wants to live in. Okay, and again, now if Hitler would have gone against usury and granted women rights, LGBTQ right, disabled right, and religions not to demonstrate their symbols, kind of like in France, and not to have any religion justify violation of those rights, he would win the war. I can tell you even more than that. It could be that there would be no war. Because he could have an appeal against usury with that. But he tried to go against usury and violate these rights, then he lost the war. Very simple. By the way, the oil company that was associated with the Norway story is Esso. Okay, because I talk about the Rockefellers, but this one is Esso. I don't know who was it owned by. But that is this is important. Any legion that funds its legion or people that fund their war by human trafficking or their rebellion by human trafficking. I'm seeing hanging, they will be hanged. I don't know why hanged. Why they will be hanged? At first I would think something like the guillotine, but I'm sure that they will be hanged. If people found their war by human trafficking, for example, Israel funded its war by human trafficking. I know because I'm one of the people that they tried to traffic. As long as there is rape of Israeli citizens, it means that somebody is making money out of it. Even if it happens in the astral. and those that wanted to make something out of it will be hanged. But this is not just, I don't see necessarily only Israel here. It's global. All those who fund their wars by trafficking people, and United States, United States, United States, United States. But particularly the energy companies. They will be hanged. I don't know by whom. I don't know why hanged. I saw hanged. Because maybe it's immediate death. It breaks the... I don't have a timetable for this. Okay? It's simply what I saw. And remember that none of these things have to happen if they honor sexual sovereignty. Also with resources, okay? No energy, not stealing of the energy of people to create stuff and then disinclude the people. It's both the creation process that has to be sexually sovereign and the allocation of resources that has to allow and support sexual sovereignty. Okay, that means no child rape, no rape, no trafficking, and no genital mutilation. Okay, it's a lot of people, a lot of religions, it's a global issue. It's not a local issue. And if Nineveh, so to speak, as the world does not repent, then it will be destroyed, like Sodom and Gomorrah. And the young, those who bring the legacy to the lineage at childhood, there can be such a thing like the Egypt, because for these children to grow into societies where they would be raped, whether as boys or as girls, and those are terrible, then that is not, it can be end of the cloning society. Again, because the process was violent. Okay, that's why. The process was violating identity. That's why. Okay, we cannot talk about being who we are if there is rape, because rape is okay. But that's the issue. Mercury is ruling over Ketu in the middle decan of Virgo. Uranus at the end of Taurus. Whenever Uranus goes to a Venus sign, we know that women should be liberated in spirit and in matter. And this is the spirit of matter. Okay, it's the liberation of Kundalini energy. Liberation from what? From anything that blocks it. What blocks Kundalini energy? Sexual boundary violation. So, and the ruler of Uranus is Venus, that's about to open synodic cycle with Black Moon Lilith. Let's see when will Venus conjoin Black Moon Lilith. November 28 on the 27th degree of Scorpio. And then November 29, Mercury turns direct. So I will likely have in December more to say about this. Venus will oppose Uranus on November 30. Okay? On those dates, I will probably have more to say. As for the concerns, what about the serial killers? What about the this? What about the that? They will all have to. And here's the thing: when nobody activates them, when nobody puppeteers them, then there can be healing, but they can be before that for those who run away. Okay, so it's very important. Those that actually don't want to participate in trafficking and stuff like that, the venues will be open for them to not to honor their own sexual sovereignty and others. So I want to make it very, very clear, because it's not about punishment. It's about purification of the energies and the frequencies that we're scheduled to do with the outer planets, okay, and towards the ingress of Aries to Taurus in the 2050s. We are closing a century of Aries in Aries. And it's in Andromeda constellation of re-inclusivity. Also topic of human sacrifice. Okay, particularly virginal or sacrifice, but because of the story of Andromeda, but any story of human sacrifice. Those that practice those practices, okay, that's the meaning and the purpose behind the colonial era. Because the colonialism, later there was decolonization, but when the decolonization happened, it was already after the customs that the colonization came to eradicate were eradicated. Now here's the thing, it's the custom that no culture is comfortable to talking about. Israel tries to, for example, not go to court for war crimes and so on and so forth. Fantastic. They'll have to abolish any type of trafficking, any type of sexual boundary violation, any type of targeting individuals, any type of usury. Okay? What is the alternative? Eichmann. Because now here is the thing, if they actually do that, if they actually abolish human trafficking, then they expose the people that were genuinely and authentically responsible for the genocide. But if the Israeli people are not ready to eradicate any type of rape, then they will be like the rest of the people. Okay? Same fate. Okay? Hitler did not take power for any other reason that people were not ready for the suffragists and for LGBTQ rights. And by the way, genitalia mutilation, because it's more profitable to say, oh, if you do a surgery and pay me so and so money, or the government pay me so and so money, we will acknowledge your identity. Okay? And I'm not against gender affirming care for those who actually need that. But this is very particular type of genital mutilation and crime against humanity that, yes, when I say LGBTQ rights, I mean LGBTQ rights. There's no identity without sexual sovereignty. And those that don't honor sexual sovereignty basically don't honor their own identities, but also their own, and with it, everything. Okay, this is the reason why they call it a murder of the soul. Even the people that people call soulless or even reptilian is people that were raped, and then they would appear to people as devoid of soul, and they would even believe that they need to steal life energy, which they don't. But basically, it's about abolishing rape, not perpetuating it. And in their societies, they are forced to perpetuate as children. So these type of cultures, even for the sake of these children, are wiped off the planet. Okay, we're finishing up with the century of Eris in Eris. That's the cloning project. And its effect on identity. And now we talk about the cloning project and human sacrifice. Those that practice human sacrifice, their lineage are wiped out the planet. And remember, this 2027 is going to be the Egypt-related eclipse, but also North Africa. And what do we know about Egypt? They built pyramids for maybe aliens, the gods, I don't know. And they did sacred work, but they used slavery. And then they had to let go of the slaves. And then the Egyptians, and think about it, they built pyramids. What does a pyramid do? It takes the energy from that arrives to it from very, very high, and then spreads it around so that the masses can enjoy that. Okay, the base of the pyramid. What did you now with the building of the pyramid gave the gnosis to the Egyptian people to abolish slavery, and then they didn't understand that they received the gnosis. Okay, they were climbing all this high to get to the gnosis, and then the gnosis was abolish slavery. This is the journey from Capricorn to Aquarius. Now, sidereally, Pluto is in Capricorn. So we have all the way of Pluto in Aquarius in tropical, but sidereally Pluto is still going to be transitioning into Aquarius. And when it will, we're going to have this story of Egypt, which is the world builds a big pyramid, and then to receive a gnosis. Then the gnosis is what? Abolish slavery. And it was like, it can't be. Cannot be. Cannot be. How come? Cannot be. But that's the journey from Capricorn to Aquarius. It's the building of the big pyramidal structure Capricorn. Okay, and the Sphinx, that is kind of a feline, okay, a royal animal. That would be Leo. And then the decentralization, the abolition of slavery. Now think about it. If as a community people unite, think about the billion of the half moons. The communities unite to dig half moons in the Sahara, and they reforest the Sahara. If they would put slaves there, it would become or the slaves would inherit the land because there would be a big plague, and the slaves would inherit the land. But I want us all to be meditating on the fact that it took the Egyptians that built the pyramid using slavery so much to have the gnosis that they got from the slaves. Okay, Moses was the prophet of the slaves. And Moses himself was a child that was supposed to be thrown into the river. It was a child that was supposed to be sacrificed. Okay, and then he grew up into the household to be a prophet of the Jewish people, or of, if we remove the word Jewish, of the slave people. And I suggest that we all remove any type of naming, because the structure here is important. There's no name that justifies slavery, no bloodline, no lineage, black or white. And this is the gnosis, because in Capricorn the pyramid is built, person climb up the ladder, and for Egypt the building of the pyramid was to climb up the ladder, to be one with the gods. And then what was the gnosis? The gnosis of the gods, abolish slavery. And I was like, no, cannot be. We climbed all this height to be like the gods, and what do you see from there? What do you see when you fly a plane? If you fly above the clouds, what do you see? I flew to Europe, and it was a morning flight. And I see clouds, 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 clouds. Oh, it looks like snowy mountains. Oh, it is. It's the Alpines. And you see, there's no borders. What's down there? If you look, and now if you take it a little bit more, if you look at it from space, what do you see? Something blue, maybe ocean, something, many clouds, and something like sea, land, sea, land. But to the Egyptians, it took blood and things that ate their crops, and I don't know, all kinds of dumbfuckery. And at the end, the first newborn boy, which is basically the inheritor of the land. In aristocracy, the first newborn is the inheritor of the land and the house. Thanks.